So again, I'm just going to give my review of the Deer Hunter, which at the minute I'm just over halfway through the film. But I've seen the film like I don't know 4 or 5 times. So even though I know what happens at the end, and I'm going to play the rest of it after this and see if there's anything revolutionary to my thought process, I'm just going to go through basically what I feel is my perception of this film as somebody living in modern day society. So, the start of the film is they are going through a situation where they want, like, one of the guys is getting married, right? Or two of the guys are getting married, and it's like a sort of like a group of guys together having fun, all just listening to that song "I Love You, Baby" and shit. Do you know what I mean? And they're all just getting drunk. Now, like what I thought, it's incredibly cringy, this film, because there's a scene not long after this, which is obviously like what they're trying to make out is that, as I've talked about before, that this film is the word of God, right? So what they want to say, and God obviously not being real, God just being the church. When people started not paying attention to the church, it was monarchy, police, monarchy, police, music, film, Asda, Tesco, whatever else you want to refer to as arms of the church. Arms, obviously, meaning weapons as well as branches. So, um, what you have there is you have this thing where they're trying to make out like, oh, this is what happens during life, but actually much the same as what loads of like crap head chefs do, crap police officers do, crap people in the military do, crap parents do, is there isn't a problem with anything that's going on. And what they do is they inject themselves into parts of life where they go, well, you might have a problem in the future, so we're going to injure you, send you off to war, uh, push you off your bike, you know, like to make sure that you know that this isn't what we want because we make money off petrol or whatever other sort of bullshit. I mean, in kitchens, a lot of the time it was like stupid shit where people would intention if you were wearing trainers instead of like steel toe cap boots, you would get somebody whilst you weren't looking pouring hot fat out of a frying pan into your shoe. Not because you'd had a problem with dropping a knife into your shoe, not because you'd had a problem with having hot oil onto dropping into your foot or anything like that, just because they wanted it to be this is the uniform, you may encounter a problem, so I'm going to go out of my way to cause a problem and injure you so you know that you have to listen to what I'm saying. So this is again what they're doing with what's going on in the Deer Hunter. So you've got a group of guys, sort of like it's always difficult to tell with actors. I mean, like Robert De Niro just seems to have basically hit the 2000s and stayed the same age from then. Pre 2000s, he seemed to have been the same age from like the 1970s till 2000. Do you know what I mean? And then from like the Meet the Parents generation, then all of a sudden he looked like that guy. Um, but like around, I'm gonna say that they're in their mid 30s, maybe. Christopher Walken, Robert De Niro, that guy who had cancer at the time of filming The Godfather and this. Um, don't know his name, but he pretty much plays the same guy in every film, just sort of like a weasel. Um, and then the other guy, I've never seen him in anything. I think they call him Stevie or something. I don't know. Basically, what you have is this is what they try to instill in you from the church, right? So like it's basically a bunch of people drinking and listening to music and being happy and playing games. So this is trying to depict like a young man's life at that time. So a lot of young women's lives nowadays, but at that time it was a lot of it was mainly a life for young men, right? Whilst women stayed home and knitted shit or whatever. I don't fucking know. Talk crap about their neighbours. I don't really know. I mean, that seems to be what we get fed. It seems to be what my grandmas are like, you know. So yeah, you basically after this. Now, like obviously, there's stuff there with like the programming of like "I love you, baby" and shit, and like listening to programming to go out to get married, etc., etc. There's also the bit where they hunt the deer. So, like, what again, I sort of like brushed over this briefly before, but like what they're trying to say with the deer hunter is like you say, like doe-eyed or like a deer in front of headlights, right? Or is it a rabbit in front of headlights? It's the same thing where people like run deer over in the road, right? They stall and they stop and they turn around and look at you and then they get run over. So what this is a way of trying to indicate that they're plucking a load of men out of uh, that are basically getting hunted. Do you know what I mean? Paying money for alcohol, something which basically loosens your lips, causes an addiction, and oh no, God, God forbid, literally have fun. And then also uh, these like method, you know, because the alcohol. What one thing that I was thinking wasn't depicted so much in the beginning of this was like none of them seem to really care that they are going to war. When they meet the guy, they meet a guy in a bar who's like an ex-military guy. So they meet the guy and he says, "Oh, um, he just said, I think he says fuck it over and over again and just takes a shot." And the guys are sort of getting annoyed at this, but prior to that, they're saying, "Oh yeah, send me where all the bullets are flying." So they're saying, "Oh, wherever the bullets are flying, that's where I want to go." Um, and you think, what a strange way to be behaving. You also think that, like, I don't know, I think they maybe should have got the actors to be a bit younger because you would think that by that time, by guys in their mid-30s, that they probably would have figured out that, like, you know, war is bullshit. It's just orchestrated by people in order to create these circumstances that they do, which I'm going to go into at the end of further down the line. So you basically have this whole scenario where they meet the guy. They're all at a wedding, right? It's like these frivolous sort of it's like these things that you do that you're told to do. There's a weird bit where one of the guys like slaps his wife and then it causes a fight and then the fight gets broken up really quickly and then he goes back to his wife and the wife just sort of goes, that really hurt like a like a small baby after he just like slapped the shit out of her. You think that's a weird something that I guess we don't have now. Um, and all round it's just a I guess it's just a depiction of this is what young men do. Do you know what I mean? They get programmed by these, like, they spend their money on stupid shit, on things that go nowhere, sort of like dead end things, because what the church believes is that you need to provide for your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, like which is utterly ridiculous. It was the same thing. I'm more than likely going to give a review of another film in a minute that was called The Silence, which was so much worse. Um, but basically, it was yeah, like again, just weird shit depicting basically just depicting a load of people that seemed really fucking happy and going, we're going to take and like to old men and old women, they're going to go, yeah, those people are so stupid, right? But like to me, I'm going, they're happy. Happy means they've got a load of serotonin running around in them. Like, what the fuck is wrong with what the fuck is wrong with people needing to take that from people? So crazy. So they go hunting and they hunt the deer, and I'm going to go into this later on, but essentially, like, it's another one of those you reap what you sow thing, right? So, like, they go out into the wild and they shoot deer at distance, and what ends up happening is obviously they go to war in Vietnam, so they're getting shot at from distance, they're getting grenades thrown at them. So what they're trying to say is, well, like, you went out and you hunted deer. Now you are the deer. I guess that the whole like deer analogy is a way of saying that you were someone that didn't see the shots coming and you were killed, right? So like the programming in terms of like entering into this imaginary contract, right, which like binds you to somebody, which more often than not, like a lot of people don't really um, want to stay with each other for that amount of time. Um, you think that within that there's a whole thing about comfort, whether you think that you can find comfort in new people all the time. I mean, personally, I think that there is something with monogamy. I also think that there's something with not having monogamy. I think that you can be whatever makes you happy. Me personally, like I don't really need to do a lot. Do you know what I mean? So, in terms of what I like doing, it's like watching things, creating things, going for walks, which like with me, it's getting more to the point where I'm thinking, what's the point in going for a walk? Which is making me think I should get a dog so that then I have to go for a walk. Um, with everything else, I can sort of like work out in here. It's essentially just getting vitamin D and just going for a walk. Do you know what I mean? Which I think like a dog would probably help with that because then I have to do that. But in terms of like at my age, in my mid 30s, monogamy is probably what you want. When you're younger, I don't see any problem with just like bouncing around. But like they seem to try and make it out with imagery that's been in other films that like, oh, it's going to rain at some point, and what are you going to do when you're miserable and you don't have anyone? And you ruined it from being loose when you were a child. It's all this like bullshit programming, man. So crazy. Um, but like I don't. Some people are perfectly happy just being single till they get to their old. What a lot of women that seem to do that do is stay single till they're in their mid 30s, realize that all the guys are going for the young women in the bars, and then they go for some guy that's like 30 years older than them who's got money because a 60-year-old still sees a 35-year-old as young. That's what seems to happen with a lot of women my age that have lived that sort of loose life. They just hook themselves out for an old guy because they still think that they look really young. This isn't a slight, by the way. This is just like an assessment of what I see. Um, but yeah, so the deer hunter anyway. So like I guess what the analogy is there is like the deer hunter, like what ends up happening towards the end of the film. And at the minute I'm an hour away from the end, but I just sort of thought that I should get these thoughts out before um I watch the end and I forget bits about the beginning. But again, it's an analogy to say that like you couldn't see the shots coming. Do you know what I mean? So like the shots, as in the drinks, what they were doing, because I think that what it's trying to depict is that through all the booze, it was making people like because I don't know if you've ever had I don't perceive myself to have ever had a problem with alcohol, but I went through a long period of time, probably a few years there, where like I would drink until 2, 3 in the morning every morning, go to work, and halfway through the day, you're still drunk from the night before. So you go to the pub on your break to have like 1, 2, 3 pints, and then you go back to work, uh, like a little with a little bit of a buzz. Do you know what I mean? Maybe like the tiniest bit tipsy, and like I know chefs that were like in their late 50s who had worked for like Marco Pierre White, fucking Ramsey. They were like going to the pub and doing shot after shot. Do you know what I mean? So like, it isn't like a young person's thing with the way that they try to sell this to you as like So anyway, yeah, I guess what they're trying to say is because what I was talking about earlier is that what something that I don't think was touched on too heavily was that a lot of them, you didn't get a lot of them go, I'm going to die. Because you would think if you were going to be put on the front line, I guess maybe we learn more about that in school now, but what we learned in school was you go on the front line, you're dead. Do you know what I mean? Which I guess front line is another analogy for shit like people that work in supermarkets, people that work in minimum wage jobs, customer facing jobs, people that don't take the long shots, people that have to sit there and take shit from people. They see that as people being dead. The same as like going to war. Um, they see those people that are on the front line as the people that are getting directly shot. Like during COVID was the way that they described that, right? I mean, I during COVID, I went and I worked in a takeaway for a little bit, which was I think I threw my tongs at the head chef and walked out. Not an allegory, but sounds like it is. Well, yeah, I did tell him he was an arsehole before I threw the tongs at him, so I guess it was an allegory as well as just being truthful. But and the other job I had was pretty well paid. It was just going and doing COVID testing. It was just taking people's COVID tests. Uh, I'm pretty sure we're getting like £20 an hour, man. Again, I guess that was frontline because they were saying you could get COVID. Do you know what I mean? We had to have a COVID test every day, I think. Um, I think it was £20 an hour. Maybe it was £15 an hour. Either way, and it was like 12-hour days. It was fucking good. You're basically just a car park attendant that had to handle shit that people had potentially had COVID had put into your hands. Um, but yeah, all in all, I guess that was a bit of a weird thing that I thought like why aren't these guys thinking I'm going to go out and I'm going to get shot? There is a high possibility that I'm just going to be shot dead or blown up. And I think that it was probably the alcohol. I think that's at least what the film's trying to depict, is that through the alcohol, it's causing them to be stupid. And like I said, like alcohol's still in your system for at least a couple of days after you've had it. Especially the sort of sessions that it's making up like these guys are doing or like that young people do have. So I guess it was trying to show that hopefully that's what it was trying to show. Otherwise they were just, oh yeah, I mean, I don't think that was an oversight. I don't think that was an oversight by the director or the writers. So they basically are just out and about in terms of what religion thinks, getting shot like deer. So they're drinking, they're paying money to gamble, they're gambling, they're paying money to sort of like gamble, and they're talking about women sort of a little bit grotesquely, like taking the piss out of each other, having fist fights for no reason, getting married, like hunting. Uh, and then they get shipped off to war, and straight off the bat, it's just brutal. I mean, the one of the dude, I don't think it's Robert De Niro's character, but he's definitely there. The guy just runs into the like huts. There's a load of women and children hiding in this like bamboo sort of. They've dug out like a huge amount of space and covered it in like leaves and bamboo to make it look like to make it not look like it's a hiding hole. And then one of the soldiers just runs in and throws a grenade in and murders all the women and children. And you think like this is again like I was talking about with Gladiator. I think that like they send people to war when people are standing up to their own society too much. When everybody gets wise to what's going on, and when all the children or the youth get wise to like that it's religion, that it's the people behind religion that also control the education system, that also control the NHS, that also control all of these other things. Um, that then they send their people off to war. Do you know what I mean? Like at the time in the 60s in the US, right? So you look at, I'm not quite sure what was going on in the 20s and 30s. I know that it was around the time of Al Capone, of gangsters getting bigger. I know that it was around the time of bootlegging booze. they made alcohol illegal and everyone just went out and fucking drank shitloads, right? Um, I also know the stock market crashed, and you think that like maybe these are top where they send people to war, and maybe times where, and I can't remember if that was before World War Two, before World War One. You maybe think these are times where they send people to war. They said they chat this crap about like they talk this absolute shite like it's to do with mini beefs. No, it's not. No, it's fucking not. People want to flex their weapons and they want to get rid of Fraff. And the way that the army and the military sees it is like, oh, if you want to fight, we'll send you to fight. Do you know what I mean? And if it's a war like that, then they're solely there for the purpose of just scaring the crap out of people or getting them murdered. You know, like they literally through vehicles. Like this is just on a side note. I was reading a fucking article earlier about like what's this crap about geoengineering. It's so fucking funny, man. Right, so you have geoengineering. It was literally the last article I was reading. Yeah, it's right. So like, halfway through, I just thought like, shut the fuck up, yeah, because it ties into exactly what I was about to say. Like this, and it's the same stuff with what politicians say, right? Like, oh, you think that you can run this world, do you? Well, we'll get you to make all the decisions, and then you're going to see how you fuck this shit up. Like, so you look at geoengineering and what they're saying is like reflecting the sun back, and people are having conspiracy theories that the reason that weather has been so miserable is because of geoengineering and stuff, which I think is very likely. One thing that I was thinking is, has anyone noticed how it seems to be really fucking sunny on a Saturday and Sunday and miserable as fuck Monday to Friday? You know why that is? Because of how many people call in sick Monday to Friday. You know why people call in sick Monday to Friday? Because they're not supposed to be fucking working for companies that are murdering people, stealing their time, stealing their ability to feed themselves. That's why. People are not supposed to be doing those jobs. People are doing those jobs because there's nothing else to do and there's people around them. So I personally think that like if you and this is genuine conspiracy because I have no basis for this apart from that I'm seeing it be cloudy and miserable Monday to Friday and really sunny Saturday, Sunday. And I know that since at least 2008, these government agencies have put it in our fate. Like 2008 Olympics, they were telling you on the news, China are going out of their way to show that the weather won't stop them. They're using their new weather controlling capabilities of removing the clouds from the sky so that the fireworks can be seen brighter. Right. So like since 2000 and they may have now since a load of earthquakes happened, right, and tsunamis and whatever the fuck. Now all of a sudden it's 2024 and they're going, yeah, NASA have the capability um, to use natural disasters as a weapon. They have the ability to create natural disasters. Obviously, they don't want anybody knowing that they can manipulate the weather, but I'm telling you straight up that since 2008, they spoke about that. Nobody ever spoke about it again. You couldn't find anything on Google about it years later. And now they're saying NASA have that capability. You know why? Because they don't want people to look at shit like Haiti. They don't want people to look at like what happened recently in Hawaii and go, the government did that. Why would the government want? I don't know what the stats are of Hawaiian people. I'm just going to make an assessment looking at them that I would think that maybe they breed within their own culture. If that's the case, just like with Native Americans, just like with every other culture that they have over there, that was more than likely an attack, so they had to move inland. So they couldn't exist by themselves, so they had to move inland. Potentially. Um, but anyway, the deer hunter anyway. So they're basically saying that so when they send these people off to war, they go to war, they're just murdering women and children. Do you know what I mean? Which is like, funnily enough, the thing that soldiers say that they're protecting. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't look at people. You have the. I got in an argument with this girl from LA last week, like talking about how she was saying no, black people are not people. Like we're all separate. Blah blah. It's just levels of radiation. If you look into biology this deeply, like you can look at stupid fucking people saying, no, we have these things because they're blah blah blah. No, what happened was we're all one race due to following food in different directions as different tribes. We all scattered out, and some of us stayed in places like Africa, closer to the equator, where it was crazy hot. Have you ever seen like people from uh like when it gets ridiculously hot in places like South Italy or Egypt, the way that people look is very close to being black, man. Very close to just looking Middle Eastern. So you look at all these conditions, it's not just sunshine, but you look at all these different exposures to radiation. Like, it's just that we separated out, and some people got more tan than others. That's as fucking simple. You look at things like big noses, and you laugh at this shit. That's just a way of getting more oxygen to the brain quicker. Do you know what I mean? In places that have places that have a high humidity, it's just a way of getting more oxygen to the brain. You look at like I think it's called the epiclanthic fold or whatever. It's just a way of creating natural sunglasses from when those people lived in Siberia. Um, so what they do is they go like, "Oh, we're going to send you off to kill people," and this whole thing where you go, "We're protecting women and children." They get them to go off to war where they just murder women and children. Do you know what I mean? Um, so they go out there, and if not long into it, uh, fucking what's the guy's name? Bobby De Niro, and the Walker, Christopher Walken, Christ Walker, um, and I think the guy with the reverse monk cut is dead, and the which again I believe is probably some sort of sign, you know. Or he has a reverse monk haircut. That's why we put him as a weasel in every film because he's not. He's like an antichrist or whatever. And so they basically make the guys that say Diddy Mao constantly, Diddy Mao, which funnily enough, when I get the attention of my cats, I shout Mao because it's like a meow sound. But so they're shouting Diddy Mao at them, which I don't know what that means. I think it means like hurry up and kill yourself or whatever. So they have this thing where they're playing Russian roulette, which again, something that we don't think of a lot of these days is that that war was a war against communism. You know what the people were doing is it was guerrilla warfare. It was the people of Vietnam standing up to the current regime and attempting to take it over because of how oppressive it had been, and they wanted to. The U.S. government came up with the U.S. government, the military came up with a term that was no jungle, no guerrillas. Right, so they realized that like with all the technology that they had, that they were drawing and losing a lot of battles. So this was like it was a quote that was taken by somebody discussing how the leaders of the US, English, Australian, Scottish, whatever British Army were going. How are we losing and drawing? And basically, it was because of their inability to map out large sections of Vietnam because of the jungle, because of the terrain. Yet the people that lived there had no problem living there, which meant that they could hide there. So this is why they use stuff like napalm strikes and why they just burnt down tons of the area. So because what their thought was, well, this is guerrilla warfare, but in order for the guerrillas to be winning, they need to be hiding in the jungle. And if we burn down the jungle, they have nowhere to hide, and when they have nowhere to hide, then they win. Right? Was their perception. Um, Again, seems counterintuitive to like what my allegory for police and mall cops is, that they're gorillas because they wear a ton, because they have a ton of weaponry and a ton of like body armor on, and they attack in groups of like 12 on one, like chimp shit. They pump, they're allowed to take steroids at work and shit, allowed to take cocaine, because it gives them a fake amount of testosterone in order to go and bully people who are just speaking freely. Again, going back to what was going on in the USA in the 60s, like, they developed LSD, right, and marijuana, well, they didn't develop marijuana, but they knew what the effects of marijuana were, and they developed it, which made people, they knew that it made people think more. I think that they thought, oh, it makes people lazy. So what they thought was, oh, we'll push this onto people so that they become lazy. Or they fully wanted to orchestrate World War II and Vietnam by making people be aware of shit so that they could have a reason to kill people, so that they could say it disrupts society and we all make less money, right? So that they could lie to everybody and say that when everybody's awake, it disrupts society. Sirens, which is usually what they do when they want me to stop talking. So, oh, stopped as soon as I mentioned it. So, so basically, I believe they released. They either wanted people to think that they released LSD and marijuana on people accidentally, when actually what it did was make people go, "Why the fuck would we go to war?" Like what did Muhammad Ali say? He said like, "No Indonesian or no Viet Cong ever whipped my mother and called her a nigger and stuff. Like no Viet Cong ever put me in a prison for no reason, etc., etc." I can't remember what the exact quote was, but it's the same with what we should think. It's the same with what Russians should think. It's the same as what Ukrainians should think. It's the same as what the Palestinians and the Jews out there should think. And you do think like Israelis, sorry, and you do think like a lot of this. I think a lot of this. I think what happened when the US and the UK went to war with Afghanistan and Iraq and stuff. I think what they realized is these people aren't terrorists. They're dudes in dresses and flip flops. Do you know what I mean? So like, what happened when they went out there? Now I think that they think, oh, now we need to make people stupid like those people are stupid. Because I think watching stuff on YouTube, what the guys are saying stuff like, yeah, we would like train the people to be smart, and we would train them to have their own police force, and then we would give them weapons, and they would just run into like their neighbor's house and just rob their neighbor and shit. So you think like, well, I think that that originally they thought, oh, this is so crazy because our people are so clever. Now I think that what they're going to do, because they can't send people to war like they used to, right? They all signed some fucking agreement, and yes, that agreement could end tomorrow through somebody acting drastically. But what it could also mean is what they may try and do is what they've been doing, making people stupider and stupider and stupider. If they continue to make people stupid, people won't listen to shit. People don't even have half an hour to listen to something. Do you know what I mean? People don't have 33 minutes to listen to something. People want a 30-second TikTok. That's what over and over and over and over and over again. Even though they will watch that for an hour and a half, they don't have the ability anymore to follow what somebody's saying. A lot of people. So you think that they're making it so that they're educating us less, because they know that that way they can just create slaves who don't care about being slaves. They don't have to send us to war if they can make us that fucking stupid that we just follow. If you follow money like it's a dangling carrot, do you know what I mean? Then you will. They don't need to kill you because you're just going to work for them in order to kill everybody else. So anyway, the deer hunter. So they put them in this position where they're basically playing Russian roulette, which is where they put a fucking what's it called, like revolver or whatever. I don't know what type of gun that is, but I think it's I don't know why the fuck does it matter. They put like a handgun to their head. They load like 6 rounds in the chamber or whatever, and sorry, they load 1 round in the into a cylindrical loading mechanism, which you can put like one bullet in one hole and then another in another, and then they spin I think it's a revolver. They spin the revolver so that you don't know where the bullets landed, so that 5 of them are empty and one of them has a bullet in. So that you pass the gun back and forth for the people to just go bang. Now, what this is it's a way of saying, and what they're doing is they're saying to each other, "Go on, just kill yourself," blah blah blah, right? Like, so what I figured that the imagery of that is like I was saying with what they've been trying to do with the art with me. They've been trying to get this guy manipulating the name of my mother's dead brother, trying to call himself Jason and trying to make it out like he's programming me because they know I don't respect the church. They know that I know what level that they manipulate people on. So they're trying to make out like they're giving me all of this creativity, and that me doing this for me using the first creative project I did, I got a hockey mask and a house painting outfit. My reasoning behind that, because house painting is a slang term for a hitman, and a hockey mask is another way of like, hockey is like a way of this guy told me this story where he said hockey referee like people on hockey teams and hockey referees will keep score of every time that like a player has attacked another player and gotten away with something, and that teams will, like, if somebody got away with a red card offense, they will write down, they will remember that, and they'll remember that player. So like 4 games down the line, when somebody gets checked and elbowed for no reason, it's not for, they're saying it's for no reason, right? My personal opinion is that that is just fucking bullshit. And that what more often than not what happens is somebody will just be skating along and somebody will intentionally skate into that person's path because they are like a fucking promised child. They're a Philip Jordan or they're a Will Glass. They're a little bitch for the church. So they will try and skate in this person's way, and this person won't move out of the way. So this person will then move into that person. That person will go, "What the fuck are you doing?" And that person will not want confrontation because their church doesn't like stuff like that. So they'll skate off, but then they'll let everybody know that somebody that is so high up in that team had somebody move into them, when actually what's happened is somebody was just going along, just going, why is that matter? And then they're going, "Well, you were being a deer." Do you know what I mean? A deer, another term for like a woman as well. So they're saying that like, "Oh, this person didn't know that they were going to get shot." Again, just the bullshit ways that our society try and train us up. They basically get a bunch of people who are just happy having fun, and then they manipulate our whole society to make it out that people are attacking each other. I had this fucking nonce, the J guy, the guy that originally he told me his name was Francis, and then all of a sudden he said his name was Jeremy. Again, this is because they want the church to try and be saying that they have that they're influencing what I'm saying. Another thing, right, is that I kept getting pushed to go and get glasses. So like what they want from me putting on glasses. Now I only need glasses when I'm like, I think this eye is a little bit blurred. Like this eye is 20/20, and this eye is like not. But I only need these on if I'm going to pass a driving test, or and I think I can pass a driving test, but like that eye's a little bit weaker now. What they're thinking is, because this guy Will Glass's mum is like a little paedophile protector for the church. What they're basically saying is that they have this whole thing where they got this girl Ellie Keys, who's also a little paedophile protector for the church. And what they have is that like their families are all like back, part of the church going way back, and part of the police force going way back, and part of the education system going way back. So what you have is like, she went out and told a bunch of people that I was in love with her, which is just straight up not true. I can go into that in another time, or I've been over that to the point where it's just insulting now, really, and I don't need to be insulting because she's just another victim to me. She's just a victim of this oppressive regime. So, like, I don't need to take personal shots at her. However, what this is, it's just literally saying it straight up as it is. So they seem to think that by her sleeping with this guy, Will Glass, and another guy called Tom Short West, and that was somehow revenge for me sleeping with Philip Jordan's girlfriend in front of him. Hey, like I was drunk, she was drunk, blackout drunk, 15 years old, and they were pieces of shit to me. Do you know what I mean? These were kids that went out of their way to bully me from like 12 years old. What, at what point do you think I was going, oh no, yeah, I'm not going to do that when she's coming on to me severely? Um, I wasn't really even aware of how serious their relationship was. So anyway, what they tried to do was then make out that like this girl who I didn't have any emotions for was sleeping with these two guys first, and these police officers. So like on my phone the other day, it came up with on my WhatsApp a predicted text said window goes first because they know that in code I was calling Will Glass Window Jimmy. Um, so like it said window goes first. Now what they're trying to do is they're trying to create some sort of anger there. And what they're now trying to do, again, because they think I'm not listening to Jay, they're trying to say that I'm putting glass in front of my eyes in order to see better, right? Not the case at all. This is how I was when I was a teenager. The majority of their problems with me are because I used to write in exams and shit. I don't give a fuck about what you're teaching me. I know who my enemy is. I was writing that in my exams and I was writing that in my tests in school. Right. I said because I was doing long division at like 6 years old and we were doing 2 plus 2 in school. I said like I just gave up there and then in like just doing tests and just looking around the room and just watching everybody else do like just tearing their heart out to do this test in 45 minutes and I had it done in like a couple of minutes. So like for me, all of that stuff is what their problem is. And now what they're trying to do is they've tried to break me down that much that now they're trying to say, oh, this guy from the church loves you. You're going to be him, right? And they've tried to manipulate it. When I created something that said that used Jason from Friday the 13th, his hockey mask, because of what I just said about hockey and the Friday the 13th thing and my mum's brother dying before he was one and the house painting thing, they then tried to say that that was because they'd been talking to me and that this guy's name was Jeremy, beginning with a J. Um, so like, and this guy hadn't been anything to do with me for years. He was just a mate. He was just, and then he was just a guy that I worked with for a bit's dad. And then all of a sudden, I'm walking past the church who at least Ali Key's family went to. I think that the other two went to the church that's joining on Musters and Melton Road, where they 100% use pedo rape shit in there, in order to blackmail their children. So like, they got that guy to live right next to the church. Now, like I know from watching shit about history that like the people in the monarchy and would get their closest trusted people to live right outside of the palace walls, so that they would have people that they trusted to tell them if enemies were coming, and also what was going on, who was speaking and acting like what within the walls of the castle. So they got this guy Jeremy to live right next to the church in order to try and say that he's programming. Also, just on another side note, interestingly enough, I think that, and then Kanye West's next album that came out like a few months after that, he's wearing a hockey mask and a house painting suit. I did think, well, it's not exactly like the most. And a lot of the lyrics talking about like being off key and shit. And I did think, well, we've been saying this for since Dr. Dre, right? They don't make that music. They steal it from people. They get creative people like me and they banish them and they don't allow them to get through, they don't allow anybody to listen to them. and they only have police, members of the church, members of like the arts council stealing our work in order to use it because we don't want to sell our work, and they need to make sure that every bit of creativity is used to serve them. So when you have bits of creativity that is anti the church, not some fucking guy called Jonathan Davis whose dad was a preacher, not somebody singing about Hail Satan. That's not anti the church. That's playing into the eyes and the arms of the church. That's making people believe that they are creating an opposing force to the church that the church needs to destroy. So, utter bullshit. But what they do with people like me is they try to steal my work, steal my creativity, and then try to make fun of me in it. And, fortunately, like I don't really mind Kanye doing it too much because he almost had some of the best creativity that black people ever, that the African Americans ever did, next to creating Crips and Bloods and having a bunch of white people saying shit like, "Look at those stupid people killing each other over red and blue." Like that's what your whole political system is. Your whole political system. Like, I can't go out wearing a fucking blue t-shirt without people going, "Oh, he's acting like a fucking conservative or a fucking lip." Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Day in, day out, I'm saying this shit is fucking bullshit. All of it. So anyway, like, in essence, I think Kanye's uh, whole spiel on getting a bunch of people to getting a bunch of Jewish people to go out and say, why is this Jewish person calling Jewish person people like fucking why is this Jewish person ragging on Jewish people was fucking beautiful. Like so, you had this guy who like because Christianity is an Abrahamic religion, right? The Old Testament is a Jewish Bible, is a Jewish is the book the main book that the Jewish people worship. The Book of Abraham, right? Like is I believe it, or they're called Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Catholicism, Christianity, and they're based on Yahweh, which was another Middle Eastern Arabic religion. Um, and you basically had so Kanye West identifying, I guess, as a term as a Christian, right? Christian is Jew. So you basically got a Jewish guy going, yeah, no, I think that Jewish people are pieces of shit, which was like just amazing to have either Jewish people or Christian people or people that were on neither side of the fence, sitting on the fence, whatever, just going, "Oh, I can't believe he's saying that." Like, it's the most straight up thing that's happening. Do you know what I mean? So it was, yeah, I guess next to Crips and Bloods, it was next to Crips and Bloods or having Tupac writing songs about like Dear Mama and fucking how to treat women right, and then shooting him because saying that he was a thug. I mean, I guess like it really was some great art there. So I can't blame Kanye, like. Hey man, you can have that and you can take the piss out of me just for rubbing it in. Like, like, because what am I going to do? Like, my enemy is these controlling pieces of shit. So somebody going out there and mugging off these controlling pieces of shit whilst wearing the outfit of these controlling pieces of shit. Fucking beautiful, man. Do you know what I mean? Couldn't have asked for something better myself. Really. Couldn't have written anything better myself, really. Um, but yeah, so back to the deer hunter, I guess. And basically forms of creativity just only being to serve these bullshit people who have essentially stolen our land, stolen our ways of making our own food, and then they make out that anybody that doesn't have money, that doesn't have the ability to make money, right, uh, is a bum. When actually what it is somebody that isn't a sub, right? It's so crazy having a bunch of little sobby dogs running around who will go and murder a bunch of women and children, right? Because they can't handle their booze, right? And having these people then go out and point the finger at people like me and going, he's a subby dog because they've got a girl that is positioned within their church to try and make out like I'm in love with her and she's sleeping with other guys that are higher up in the church before me. When like I wouldn't fuck that gash if it was the last gash on earth, man. Do you know what I mean? And that's you wanna try and twist that into, oh, this is, he doesn't like women because he used the term gash. Fuck, God, I can't give a flying fuck. Do you know what I mean? Um, so yeah, they've got these guys sitting there and blowing their brains out, right? So basically what they're doing is it's like a way of going, okay, so we're getting you to gamble truly with your life now, right? Now you're in the army and now you're in the military and blah blah blah. Now we're truly getting you to gamble with your life. Um, and they're getting them to like, because there's a whole thing where people call like shut your trap, right? So what they think is that because of all these creations by the church, um, because of all the language within language, you can basically try and break up my sentences and say that it is that I'm insulting myself because of the way that they've set up language in our cultures and the way that they've set up sort of like religious rhetoric. So due to that, like obviously what my intention is here is my intention, but they're going to say that it's not. They're going to say that because of other things that they've used to program people with, they're going to make out like my intention is. They're going to say that I'm one of them and that I'm doing their work. No, I'm not. I'm talking straight up about how fucking utterly disgusting it is that you behave like this as an organization of people. I think that you're fucking scum. And you're going to deserve everything that happens to you. Because you know what I think is going to happen in the next war? I think that people are too awake. I think they're trying to get people to not use terms like awake. You know what I think is going to happen? I think that because everybody knows shit like this, I think that what's going to happen is they're going to put people in the trenches. This is if shit goes to war, and the military, and we all know that it's a global regime. So I think that what's going to happen is the British side, the generals are going to go, you need to get out, you need to jump over there and we're going to go, I'm going to kill the people that are telling me I need to go and run into my own death. I think that what's going to happen is people are just going to straight up cap their military leaders. And as long as that happens on both sides, there's no problem. Do you know what I mean? Because like, why the fuck Russia and China aren't telling me that I'm going to have to force myself, that I'm going to have to kill myself. These people have been trying to murder me since I was a child because somebody gave me a name that they think is attributed to Satan. So they've gone out of their way to destroy my education, destroy my livelihood, destroy everything about me so that they can try and paint me as some devil character so that they can say, don't go the path of Satan. It's it's hilarious when you see how stupid it is, and it's annoying when you see how they've educated our people to not realize any of this. But what I truly think is going to happen is people are done with peace. Peace didn't work. You didn't stop your bullshit with peace. So I think that people are going to go into the trenches and they're going to go, fuck this. And they're just going to shoot their own. I think that that's genuinely what's going to happen. It's an evolution every time, isn't it? There was protest. Now this time around, I think people are just going to cap their fucking generals and captains. Um, because that's what we need as a world force. That's what we need. Um, so anyway, so they're getting people to kill themselves now. Like when people don't understand what they're saying, and when people don't understand that it's religion and government that are setting them up in what they're doing, then essentially what they're doing, their whole life has been just killing themselves, the drinking, gambling, etc., etc., etc. So they're saying that like now you're truly gambling with your life by like take essentially taking shots at yourself, right? Because they know, and like your rat trap, right? They think that your mouth is a trap. When you get to a point and you use anger, they think that what you say is like saying is that you're attacking yourself. As I talked about with someone last week that I was talking to, like, no, if you pinch one person and you punch, spit on, stamp on, put a gun to someone else's head, like I don't think that you can say that those people are not just exhibiting exactly the correct and appropriate force of what's being done to them. Do you know what I mean? For me, I don't see any value in terrorist acts. What value would I see in terrorist acts? I can just sit here and I can tell people what's going on. And you know, just the same as like for every little Charles lover out there that's going, oh, and I don't mean cocaine lover either. For every little monarchy lover out there that's going, oh, um, yes, well, we know exactly what you're doing and saying. There are so many people in your ranks that fucking hate your industry and organization. There are so many people that are just spreading what I'm saying. This is tearing down your industries. This is tearing down your organizations. Um, so like, fuck it, make money off me. Do you know what I mean? I don't give a fuck. So like through these people, through the two guys doing that, what it's basically saying is that you're going to get that tough to your own, to you killing yourself. That you're that because then what happens is Robert De Niro takes out the guy. He's got two bullets left in the chamber, so when he calculates it so that he knows that there's two rounds left in the chamber because he's heard four because they both shot twice and the bullets didn't go off. So he knows that there's two. I think he knows that in the last three rounds that there's two bullets in three rounds. So three chambers, two rounds. So I think he shoots. I think it clicks. He tackles the guy and shoots two of them dead, and then takes the gun off one of them and shoots the rest of them. And what that is like it's almost like saying after you've gotten that tough from killing yourself, then you can murder your captors, right? And then you get to escape down the river from your captors or whatever. Um, so what happens at that point is they escape. I think they swim for a bit. Like this version that I'm watching on Amazon is not the proper version because prior to this bit there's the whole bit where they're in like the little bamboo prison and which they're going to say is because I called my cat Bamboo because Jackie Chan was climbing up. So they're going to try and make out like they're being clever by saying that because they think that I'm calling my cat after the girl called Ellie. So they think that by me calling my cat Bamboo, they think that now what they're doing is go, oh, right, by saying that they got me to name my cat Bamboo or whatever. So that because they're saying that Ellie's put me in a prison. Ellie didn't put me in a prison. Will didn't put me in a prison. Tom didn't put me in a prison. That's why Ellie walked off in floods of tears last time when I confronted her with all of this. And she said I was trying to help you and stormed off and hasn't spoken to me since. That's why last time I saw Will Glass, he looked like he just shit his pants. That's why Tom Weston doesn't come anywhere fucking near me. Right? These people can't talk to me because they know I just do this, and I just go, no, stop with all your lyrical bullshit. What about this? This was orchestrated, but predominantly by the church on Mustard, in between Musters and Melton Road, and that church by me, that church near Stratford Road. And because they couldn't kill me, right, it escalated higher and higher and higher to the point where they got so many fucking, where they were getting intelligence to write a ton of films and music about me. It's got nothing to do with Ellie Keys. I don't give a shit if you're saying that that's sexist. It's also got nothing to do with Will Glass and Tom Weston. And the only reason that they're trying to attribute it to those people is because their family are higher up in their church organizations. So they want it to appear like those people are doing better than me by these absolute false uh, fabrications and illusions of structure and wealth. So anyway, they have the little bamboo prison underneath the it's underneath the water, and they've got all the rats. like eating the guys whilst they're in the bamboo prison. So obviously this is another allegory for like if you want to keep going down that path and you want to go to war with these people, then they're going to put you in a prison like they're doing to me, right? And they're going to get their little church rats to do shit like what they're doing, break into my flat, poison my cats, poison me, poison my water supply, have me followed and stalked everywhere I go. Um, and then anything that I do that shows skill, they try to attribute it to Tom, Will, and Jeremy, these three paedophiles. Um, so yeah, it's pretty frustrating, really. Like Jeremy being the person that told Philip Jordan when he was 11 or 12 years old not to masturbate, that he would body wank him, that he would show him how to administer a whole body massage where he could orgasm. Um, And now, like I said, they try to, through psychological imprinting, through creating positive associations with certain terms, with certain names, they're trying to make it so that I say things that appear allegorical. They're not. None of this is allegorical. If it's allegorical, I'll let you know. I'm breaking down their allegory because I know how to use allegory perfectly fine, as you can probably see from my drawings. But I think it's just a way of just concealing utter and complete corruption and disgusting human beings raping and stealing from everybody else. Um, so anyway, yeah. So I think that that bit was missing from the Amazon version because maybe I was just a little bit more. Maybe I was just a little bit um, disturbed by that when I was a child. However, so yeah, all of that shit goes on, and then they get free. Then they invade their captors, and then a good old military comes in the helicopter to pick them up to save them. Now, at this point in the film, like I can talk about where it goes. So, like he's been in the he's in the medical facility, and he looks at a black guy who's had both his arms blown off. Now, like what you would perceive that to be is armless, right? It's in harmless. So what they're trying to say is that they at that point in the US in the 70s, they had made it so that the black population was harmless, that they could do nothing. Martin Luther King rises up, they assassinate him. They use it in order to tear down property so that they can make money off rebuilding it. What's the other guy? Malcolm X rises up, they assassinate him. Do you know what I mean? And then because they kept trying to rise up, they then use people like P. Diddy. They then use people who are from the military. And then when they realized that they couldn't get people, when they realized that people just went, that person's military or police, like with P. Diddy, they just got military kids to grow up in rough areas, like this guy Tommy that I know. They get these people to grow up in rough areas so that they adopt the lingo of these people when actually they're just military children trying to murder everybody. Because when they realized that the black people weren't going to stop uprising, they then have to control that, right, with music, hip hop that says sell drugs, kill people, sell drugs, kill people, sell drugs, kill people, right? The only people that they allow to put in any sort of messages of, and then what they do is to get people like Kendrick Lamar, who, you look at the video for All Right, it's a black and white video with police hoisting him up like he's a king. And he's saying, things are going to be all right, things are going to be all right. People are going to, this is programming, people are going to rallies about police brutality and everybody's going, things are going to be all right, things are going to be all right. Now, what you're doing right now is you're more than likely going, no, my church says that I should only believe things that I see. I can tell you right now that police have beaten me unconscious after putting me in cuffs, after sitting on me saying that we know you've got something on you, we know you've got something on you. Then, because of me being mouthy, quite clearly because I was being wrongfully arrested, walking from one bar to another, three riot vans, right? They then beat me unconscious after putting me in cuffs, right? And then the next day said it was because I was trying to break into a car. Shit happened again and again and again. Walking down Melton Road, rugby tackled by some fucking 28 stone Fed, who then said that we matched the description of people trying to break into a house down the road. Physically assaulted because I apparently matched the description of somebody that had broken into. It was the middle of the fucking day. Nobody was trying to break into a house in West Bridgford in the middle of the fucking day. So I can say right now that they have attacked physically, potentially causing, but more than likely causing brain damage to me being an innocent person, let alone however many other people. So what they're doing is they try to fall back on this thing where if you didn't see Charles, Andrew, or Jimmy Savile rape someone, they probably didn't. I can say that in the church where I was going to the church meetings in Snenton, that they got a young girl to sit to the right of me. Everybody sat in a circle. Everybody sat in a circle and closed their eyes, and they got a young girl to start touching up the inside of my thigh. I can say that Philip Jordan, when I was in either year seven or year eight, told me that his priest told him not to masturbate, that he could show him how to administer a whole body massage so that he could orgasm. You would have to go and question Philip Jordan, and knowing that guy's career and that guy's family's career, and that guy having a wife and kids, I would assume that he would lie through his teeth. I would assume that by this point he's probably raped a child, and they will hang that over his head. But what they do is they go, "Oh, if you've never been assaulted, live in a world where it's all an act. This isn't an act. This isn't an act. Every last bit of this is true. This isn't a fucking act. I'm not trying to do this to help you people out." Um, so yeah, after this, I mean, then Christopher Walken starts going into and going into these war zones for fun. So he starts going into like he stays living in Vietnam, and he starts going into these like what they called like fucking starts going into these like Russian roulette arenas where he just goes and sits in there and plays Russian roulette against like other guys, and all these people bet on it, and then he makes money, and they call him like the White Prince or some shit. Uh, so this is the bit of the film that I've just got to now. Um, Obviously, I guess that these sorts of reviews are probably only worthwhile if you actually like the film, if you actually really like the films, and obviously I'm attributing these things to shit going on in my life so that I can see what so that I can just tell you that like this is directly their programming. This is directly what their communities want to do to people. They want to instill these types of storylines on people. And again, the stupidest part of it for me is that like they take people that are happy, they take people that are having a decent life, and they make it so that it's impossible to have a decent life so that they can try and blag this shit about it's childlike to be happy. It's not. It's not at all. It's an absolute fallacy. They want for themselves to stay happy, and they want to create miserable people. Like I talked before about bulls, these people's gods, they say that they worship bulls, right? If you go and watch The Sopranos, you look at the shit behind him then, and you look at like Spanish whatever those guys are called, not conquistadors, but like those guys that wear the fucking uniform, black and white uniforms, and they hold a red flag out for a bull. They think that they're trying to raise certain types of men to be bulls and to charge at red flags. Red flags meaning red flags in their society. People that talk about what's going on. People that do the right thing and talk about what's going on. And they get these people to, and then they go, oh, police, because police are not there to stop anybody that's committed any crime due to any sort of notion of any moral standing, any good or bad. Police are there to stop people from talking, to stop people from stealing from people who have stolen from everybody else, to stop people from committing essentially crimes against the rich. They don't give a fuck if you're poor. They won't do fuck all if you call the police and say, somebody just broke into my house and you're poor. They won't do fucking fuck all about that, man. They don't do a fucking thing about if you've been assaulted. But if you are victorious, and if you are a shop and you call and say this is what has happened, they'll at least give you a crime number so that you can claim 400 grand a year on your insurance. But yeah, so this is the point of the film I've gotten up to. So I guess I'm going to watch the rest of it now and then maybe do another half,